The Board of Public Works meeting of Monday, December 14th to order. Number 2, approval of minutes of November 30th. Motion by Mr. Bargender.
So moved, Mike.
Second by Mr. Rosendich.
Mike. Oh.
We got it. Any corrections or anything? Okay, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Okay. Citizens' comments. We have no citizens here, so we'll go to number 4. Award bid for Manville Lift Station Replacement Project presented by Sam Warp, Wastewater Superintendent. Sam.
Thank you. In your packet, there was a little bit of information about the bid opening we had. Manville Lift Station is located out on Man Street and Highway 13 out towards Spencer. It's a station that went into service in 1979, and it's in need of a total overdue. And we hired Strand Associates to handle the bid procedure for us. They opened bids on December 1st. It was actually done live online. Anybody could have watched it. There were 4 bids, and they're in your packet here. There was actually 7 that took out paperwork and 4 that actually bid. And 2 low bids were only separated by $16,000. When you think of a project that's almost $350,000 and they're that close on the bottom, that's pretty competitive bidding. Low bid was Haas and Sons at $320,000. The probable cost estimate for the project was $373,000, so we were under that. And the budgeted amount I had was $338,000, so we come in just under that. None of this will come from debt or property taxes. It's all from the wastewater fees. And Haas was pre-qualified for the project, and they'd worked with Strand on a couple other projects as well. So staff would recommend accepting the low bid from Haas and Sons Incorporated for the amount of $320,000 and direct staff to draft and execute a contract.
Motion? Mr.
So moved.
I got a motion by Mr. Bargender, second by Mr. Fire. Comments or questions? Mr. Bargender.
For Sam, who was the contractor on the Hawthorne and 8th Street lift station?
That was Pember.
That was Pember.
Yep.
Okay.
They did a good job for us.
They did a wonderful job. I own a property very near there, and I'm very familiar with the area. I've lived down there 27 years, and it looks great. So hopefully this one looks as good. It works just as good.
They had to do a lot more digging on 8th Street because we put in a whole new wet well there.
Mm-hmm.
And this one, we're reusing the wet well, so it shouldn't be as much digging.
Okay, thanks.
Anybody else? Okay, roll call, Dan, please. You caught me off guard the first time.
Fisher?
Yes.
Rosendich?
Yes.
Bargender?
Yes.
Butke?
Yes.
And Fire?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you. Number 5, approval of a request for proposals for design engineering services for Lincoln Avenue reconstruction from 5th Street to Adler Road, presented by Dan Connect, Director of Public Works. Dan.
Thank you. You'll recall that earlier this year, we were notified that we received funding for this project, Lincoln Avenue, 5th to Adler, to reconstruct this through the STP Urban Program. It stands for Surface Transportation Program. It's a combination of state and federal funding, and it's the same funding that we received when East 29th Street was reconstructed a few years ago. First step in the process was a project agreement was approved with DOT earlier this summer. We have money in the 2021 budget to fund some design services here. Since this follows the DOT project development process, which is a little more involved than what we would do on a local project, we typically hire a consultant to do this work for us. So we do that through an RFP process. In your agenda packet is the proposed RFP that will be used to solicit consultants for this. We're a little bit ahead of the game here because we won't actually send this out until January, but wanted to get it through the process here, so we're ready to send it out probably by mid-January or so. Construction is currently programmed for 2024 calendar year. However, one component in the RFP is to have the design completed to allow the project to be advanced if funding becomes available. Sometimes on these DOT projects, if community falls behind and doesn't get their project completed on schedule, DOT is looking for other projects to move ahead, and we want to be in that position if funding should become available. So with that, I'd recommend approval of this request for proposals and authorize staff to begin the solicitation process.
I have a motion by Mr. Fisher. Second by,
So moved. Second
by Mr. Fire. Any questions? Mr. Bargander.
Thank you. Just a comment more. Dan had mentioned that if possible, this project could be moved up. I traveled that road the other night, and it is probably one of the more poorer roads we have in the city of Marshfield. So, you know, if possible, any way to get that moved up a year or so, it'd be wonderful. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, a roll call, please.
Fisher,
Yes.
Rosadich,
Yes.
Bargander,
Yes.
Butke,
Yes.
and Fire.
Yes.
That motion carries.
Thank you, Dan. Number 6, update on winter snow season readiness, presented by Chris Hawley, Street Superintendent. Chris?
Good evening, everybody. Each year about this time, Street Superintendent usually gives you an update on how we're preparing for the winter snow season and then kind of our policies and procedures and how we plan to attack this winter snow season. And I'm here to do this for the first time. It's a little bit different. One of our assistant street superintendents who've been with us for the last 34 years has retired. So it's kind of like a new regime for us. So tonight I'm going to give you kind of a brief overview of the equipment that we have, are using, some of the technology that we're using, and some cost analysis that we've done in the past. Just like any snowflake, every snowflake apparently is different, and every snowstorm is a little bit different too. So how we tackle that and how we prepare for it, I'll just give you a brief overview. Some of the equipment that we use, we have 2 skid steer loaders that we use. One of them is mainly when we're in a full plow operation, is used on Central Avenue to open up the driving lanes up on St. Joe's also when we plow to the center and we have to pick that up. We have 2 motor graders that we use. We have 4 front end loaders. We're renting 2 of them for the winter that we now do parking lots with and cul-de-sacs. This will be our second year of using those in the cul-de-sacs, and they're working out really well. It's cut down on our time and efficiency in the cul-de-sacs and the parking lots. We now have 8 salters in trucks with plows. Our 2 new trucks are just about done. I just seen pictures of one of them today. It's coming right along. We'll hopefully have that by the beginning of the year. The 2 new trucks are tri-axles with pre-wetting and anti-icing tanks in them. They have 1,200-gallon tanks that we can also go out and anti-ice before the storm with those trucks and use them during the storms. And I'll talk about that a little bit more here. And we also have 2 tractors that we use to clear sidewalks and bump outs along downtown. Some of the technology that we have a DTN weather station that we pay for. It gives us hourly forecasts. We can actually email into a meteorologist that will give us very specific Marshfield weather predictions. Has pavement temperature sensors that it gives us a forecast of what the pavement temperature is going to be starting in a 24-hour period. We look at that very closely. We actually have pavement sensors in each one of the supervisor trucks, so we can actually drive the roads and see what the pavement temperature is as we're doing that. It's really nice. Like I said, anti-icing, we have a 1,500-gallon truck that will go out and anti-ice. We're really getting into this a lot more, where we'll go out before the storm and hit our priority routes in some of our intersections and anti-ice. We also have the technology to pre-wet. We've been doing that for quite a few years now, where we actually pre-wet the salt before it hits the ground, which basically activates the salt immediately rather than the salt hitting the ground and being activated by moisture. And then the salt controllers, we can control our spreading rate and how many pounds we're putting down per lane mile. Each truck is equipped, each salter truck is equipped with a precise controller. And with that precise website, we can also go in and look at each truck to see how much they're putting down at any given time. Sometimes you give the directions, and after the guys get out, we say, hey, put 200 pounds per lane mile, and you'll look at you can go on the website and say, oh, you're putting 400 down. Oh yeah, I must have hit the button. So you can call them up and immediately fix that error. Some of our philosophies, 2 inches or more snow, we'll go into full plow operations. I don't know if Dan, if you could show, but we have, everybody's assigned a plow route. Basically we have, and the next one, Dan, that's the priority one. The full plow route right there. We have pretty much 2 trucks in each section with a salter. Right now, when we get our 2 new trucks, the 2 new trucks will be on Central and Vets. And then the other 4 sections, we have 1 assigned salter with 2 sections having 2. And once the 2 new trucks are done on Central and Vets, they will go into the other 2 sections. So we'll have basically 2 salters in each section. And when I say section, we have the city broken up into 4 sections, basically separated by Central and the railroad tracks, basically. So yeah, section 1, 2, 3, and 4. When we get vacation, sick time, and weekends and stuff, we'll start pulling guys to fill in those holes. What we usually do first is we'll pull our sidewalk guy, and he'll jump in a route, or we'll have to pull a mechanic, and he'll go in a route. But for a little short, we'll make it work, and it just might take a little bit longer in a section. But as guys are finishing up with sections, they're instructed to basically start out working either north to south or west to east. And if they need help, they can basically tell the other driver who's done with his route, say, hey, you need a hand over in section 2. He says, yeah, you need to start from 17th and work your way north. So the guys are really good at that. The one thing with the new crew, basically a pretty fresh crew, they'll be learning a lot this year. In the past, when I first started with the street division and had a pretty veteran crew, and you'd send them out and the radio would be quiet for about 3 or 4 hours until guys were kind of wrapping things up. And then they knew just from experience where the other guy was at. They would call him up and say, do you want me to start here? And he said, sure. So, but we'll go through some growing pains here a little bit. But I think with each truck having an assigned route with the new guys, I think it's going to work out really well. Priority routes, we've done, just to give you an idea, what we do at priority routes. Now, last year at this time, we had at least 12 events that we went out and either anti-iced or plowed or just salted. This year, we've had 3. We had 2 in October, actually 4, because we had one small one today. We had 2 in October where we just went out and we salted priority routes. And there was a lot of factors that went into when we would just go out and salt, and a lot of that had to do with temperature, air temperature, and pavement temperature. We went in before hours, salted. Roads were in really good condition in the morning, and we looked at the advanced pavement temperature, knowing that the pavement temperature was going to be above 32 degrees by 10 o'clock in the morning. We said, let the salt work, let the snow melt off, and they were pretty much cleared by 11 o'clock in the morning. And I'll give you an idea how much money cost saving that is. Anti-icing, like I said, you may see this, we're just looking at our extended forecast. There might be a small system coming in on Friday, where this really works out well if we only get like a 1-inch snowstorm or less than 1 inch, and we can get out there and put 50 gallons per lane mile, which equates to 100 pounds of salt per lane mile. This worked out well the first week of deer season. I think they went out on Monday, and they had a little bit of an event on Tuesday, and didn't have to go out and do anything after that at all. And the weather, again, was working really well for us. Holidays and weekends, same thing as if we're working with vacation and sick time, except for we have supervisors on call every weekend or every week now. And then we do have guys on call every weekend to help monitor stuff that happens over the weekend. Full-time operations, just to let you guys know about how long it takes. It takes about 6 hours.
And Kathy, as an oral, your steaks are ready.
Steaks are good. Medium rare, please. Full plow operations take about 6 hours when we have everybody available. And the amount of snow, anywhere in that 3 to 5 inches, it'll take us about 6 hours. Anytime you get above 5 inches, you add an inch, you can add about an hour. If we're just out salting, it'll take anywhere, if we're just doing priority routes, it'll take us about 2.5 hours. But if we're doing curb and gutter and one pass down the residential streets, it takes about 4 hours. So, and that time will actually cut down with our new salters coming online. We have about 307 lane miles of streets, 7 miles of paved alleys, 6 miles of unpaved alleys, and 83 cul-de-sacs and 12 parking lots that we take care of. To give you kind of a cost analysis of what it takes to do what I would say a normal 3-inch snowfall, 3 to 5 inch snowfall, full plow operation, just looking at my notes in the last couple of years, it averages about $35,000 to do that type of operation, $35,000 to $50,000. The 2 separate times that we went out this year and just salted priorities, the cost was $4,500, and the second time was about $4,000. We anti-iced once this year, that Monday of deer season. That cost $2,800. We didn't have to go back out after that. This morning, we got that little bit of snow last night. We came into work this morning, and we had a couple slippery spots. And our biggest concern is vets and oak coming down that hill. We always have problems with that. That's kind of was our triggering point to go out and kind of spot salt some areas. So I sent out a veteran guy who's been with us a long time. He's on that route anyway. And I told him to go check things out, and he was out for about 4 hours today by himself. And he spot salted the town and used a little bit of salt, not too much, but it was less than $1,000 to do that this morning. So, couple other things for the public, sandboxes. We do have sandboxes located throughout the city. They're pretty much surrounded by the schools. Just to give you an idea, these are posted out on our website too. We have sandboxes. I think we have we have 12 different locations that we have sandboxes around the surrounding schools. Those are at Walnut and Upham, St. Joe's and Upham, Oak and Upham. That's in section 1. Section 2 is 5th in Columbus, 7th in Chestnut, 14th in Schmidt, 11th in Adams. Section 3, we have them at 8th in Peach, 17th in Falker, 17th in Palmetto. And section 4, we have them at Peach and Becker and Peach and Daggy. And those are for the residents to use, but also remember that they're at each school where the crossing guards are at. So remember, if you go there to get some salt, we recommend that you bring a coffee can. Would pretty much last you through 1 or 2 storms in front of your house to do your sidewalk. So what else I got for you today? Because we're going in a little bit short, we've had a great fall and an early winter, so we haven't done a full plow operation yet. We haven't plowed yet, to tell you the truth, but we're ready to go. We're going in a little bit short. Been working with Park and Recs and Ben on our sidewalk routes. We just about are completed with, what we did this year is we worked with Ben over at Park and Rec, and we asked them to show us exactly everything that they plow when it comes to trails and parking lots. And we took our map on all the sidewalks that we do in our parking lots. And now we got it mapped out, and we're going to say, hey, what can we do to make this more efficient for each department? So rather than us going up in a section and taking the tractor out and going a couple miles down the road just to pick up a piece of sidewalk, and working with Ben over at Park and Rec, say, hey, you're up in that area, can you pick this up for it? So we're working on that right now as we speak. I just got those maps today. So Sidewalks themselves, just a reminder to the public that we did publish the sidewalk ordinances. You got 48 hours to clear your sidewalk of snow and ice that's full width. We're pretty lenient on the 48 hours only because we need to get our sidewalks done first. So we usually give you 48 hours after we get done with our sidewalks. It usually takes us 2 days to get all of our sidewalks done also. I think that's all. I kind of rambled on here a little bit, but just wanted to let everybody know that, when it comes to snow plowing, each storm is different. You got weekends, you got after hours, you got overtime. Is a big factor. Temperature, air and pavement temperatures are big factors. Wind. There's a lot of things that are involved in a snowstorm. That the biggest thing is to try and avoid having the snow bond on the pavement. So once you start working from the top down instead of from the bottom up, is when you get in trouble, and it takes a lot longer to get the roads efficiently safe travel for the public. And that's our goal, is to get people to and from work and to shop around here in a safe and efficient manner. And just to let everybody else know that if you see a plow truck, just remember that they have a wing on one side that's usually covering up their blind spots on their right. They got a plow out in front of them, and they got a big dump truck in the back of them. So they can't see you very well. So slow down around them, take your time. Nothing that's pressing that might take you an extra minute or two to get to work.
Thank you, Chris. A lot of good information. Anybody have any questions for Chris? Mr. Fisher.
Thank you. I just have one question. I know you have a brine operation. I'm just wondering if you could talk a little bit more about that. How much brine, do you keep track of how much brine you're using?
Yep.
How that's actually saving the city at all?
Sure, yeah. Like I said, we purchased a brine maker. I think it was about 5 years ago is when we purchased our brine maker. Otherwise, we were just using salt brine to pre-wet. And we wanted to get into the anti-icing side of it, so we actually purchased a brine maker. And we keep track of how much salt it uses, and we keep track of how much brine we make and how much brine we put out. We charge out a minimum amount of money. There's a cost calculator on how much it costs to produce brine, and we charge it out for I think it's like 26 cents a gallon that we use for that. Now, the really neat thing about it is we can make about 4,000 gallons of brine in a couple hours. So it takes us longer to put it out on the road than it does for us to make it with this new brine maker. And you'll see that more and more. Wood County used to have a manual brine maker, and then we bought the first Brine Boss and mixed blend mixer, and they came over and toured ours, and now the DOT has bought them one too, and they have them now both, I think, in the county shop here in town and in Marathon County has them. You see that a lot more. The other thing, that's a good question, Adam. I forgot to add. One thing about brine and salt mixtures, it works till about 15 degrees. We did purchase admixture that lowers that working temperature, and it's called AMP. There's several different products out there, and we've experimented with a couple of them now. And AMP is one of them that between Marathon County and us, and I'm not sure what the Wood County's using, but there's beet heat and there's beet juice. But we've found out that AMP really helps lower the working temperature of the salt and the salt brine for us. And then we add that in once the air and pavement temperature gets down below 50 degrees.
There was a TV station the other night, and I forget what city it was, but they were talking about using less salt and they're going to use more sand. We're way ahead of the game, so.
Correct. Yeah. Well, the sand issue is something a little bit different, and Tom can talk about this a little. When we do put sand down, it's usually when it's 0 or negative out, and we kind of use it just for traction. We do a 3-to-1 mixture of sand and salt, and that's what you'll see in the sandboxes around town too. But sand can get a little bit tricky with your stormwater discharge permit.
Anybody else? Mr. Bargan.
I just have a comment. You answered all the questions I had written down here in your presentation, and I was very impressed by your presentation. Very in-depth. Probably one of the better presentations I've had since I've been here in 2 years. So thank you.
Mr. Fisher.
I just have one more question. You mentioned having some newer staff. What is the onboarding for them? The first winter? Do you have a process for onboarding new employees into this?
Yes, matter of fact, like our new guys will come in, and especially the guy, pretty much everybody's got a CDL. We got one guy that's going to be going for a CDL. But if you come in first, you start out basically on the sidewalk route. But we've had so many new people, they're kind of jumping right into the plowing routes and stuff. So we've already gone through in October assigning each guy on their route. And what we did is we teamed them up with people in their section with some veteran guys in their sections, and they travel their route and they look at high manholes and all that other stuff. So yeah, and then jump in their trucks and drive around and get used to it. So we got some guys that are experienced, that are new, that have been in trucks for a long time. So, and we'd have some other guys that a little bit nervous about it, but like the other guy says, the only way you're going to get good at it is to do it.
Anybody else? Okay, thank you, Chris. Number 7, closed session pursuant to Wisconsin Statute Chapter 19.851E, deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. Could I have a motion to go to closed session? Mr. Bargander, Mr. Fisher, second. Roll call, please.
Fisher,
Yes.
Rosenich,
Yes.
Bargender,
Yes.
Butke,
Yes.
Fire.
We are in closed session.